Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is another episode of Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook. Kelly Cook, how are you doing today?
Well, Elizabeth, I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. It's almost the end of the first month of the new year. Can you believe that?
I was going to ask you, how has your month gone? What is like
crazy.
Looking back at the last day of this month, of the first month of 2023, sum up your past month. Did you hit your goals? How was it looking for you?
Oh, you know what? All the goals been hit? No, just be honest, because you have to have transparency, right? In this business, and all the goals have not been hit, but the trend is our friend, right? Is the old saying. And I think when you start looking at some of the lead measures, right, at the lag measures, we're seeing some good positive signs, right? It definitely appears that the market here in Phoenix has obviously picked up, and really the data would provide and show us that the bottom of the housing market actually was the last week of December. So
thank goodness.
As of right now, we are moving in the right direction. So we're seeing that right now, and so now it's a matter of just trying to capitalize on that momentum, because momentum brings more momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we were kind of talking about this before we started recording here, but it's been kind of a hard couple of months for a lot of agents across the country. And coming off that high of what was the COVID market, which everybody was afraid of, but it ended up being, a really, really hot market. It panned out well for a lot of people. A lot of new agents got into the business, kind of rode that high on the way up as well. And I want to say somewhere toward the last weeks of summer, somewhere at the beginning of fall, things really started going downhill from where we were, right? Still not any sort of crash or anything like that, but downhill from where we were. And I think that really, like, as you said, kind of bottomed out over, November and December, and maybe even a little bit into January, that people were hurting. I mean, a lot of agents were, not getting a lot of listings, not seeing a lot of activity in their markets. And that still might be true for a lot of people. But Kelly is lucky enough that he gets a preview into kind of what the rest of the country is going to do, because Phoenix is always just kind of, at the forefront of that market. And so, Kelly, you're seeing some good signs, some good movement going on in Phoenix right now?
Yeah, we are. And you're right. We have the blessing of being kind of at the forefront of the market as it turns, seasonally for a cycle, as compared to the rest of the country. Why? Because of our weather, right? We have snowbirds. We have a lot of demand that gets pent up starting from the holidays, right? And it starts coming out in January. Whereas, most markets across the country are going to see their demand really increase, I would say probably April-ish, right? And of course, in March. Yeah. So we get those 2 months of January, February, which are very slow for most of the places across the country. And we get to see what it's going to be like. Typically, it's always a good market that really runs from, honestly, about January all the way through about May, and sometimes even into June. But it really runs well in terms of demand, and then what that leads to closings starting the second week of January, kind of after the MLK weekend, that kind of time frame, and then it really starts to pick up. So we're right in the thick of that right now, and we're seeing that happen again this year, even in a marketplace where interest rates are still, traditionally high, compared to the last 4 or 5 years, high. Exactly. Now, traditionally speaking, over the past couple of decades, they're still pretty low, right? Let's be honest, right? They're still pretty favorable to be able to borrow money and have a nice 30-year fixed mortgage. So that being said, we'll see what happens. But all we need right now in this marketplace is some stability. We need some stability from the Fed and our government officials who kind of, obviously play in this space. Even if they're a little bit higher, if we had stability, people will get used to it. It's like when gas prices go up. Yeah, they get used to it. They figure out how to manage around it or work around it. What options they have, and that's part of what we come in as real estate agents when it comes to buying and selling real estate, providing those options and those solutions, those problems that people have. And so, in real estate, we are paid, guys, we are paid proportionally for the amount of problems that we help people solve. And so if you're looking to just make a quick commission or a quick check, you're going to be in the wrong business. You will not have staying power. You'll be out of the business. So you need to make sure that you're providing value. And one of those ways of providing value is by having options, having solutions to problems, and making sure people are educated. A lot of times people can deduct reasonably for themselves what the best course of action could be if they are just educated on what all the options they have are at their disposal. And again, we think because, that we're in the business and maybe we, or own a house or bought a house before, that we kind of know what it's like. But you'd be surprised, Elizabeth, do you know how many agents out there right now don't even own a house themselves, right? And yet they're advising from that standpoint. So
advising homeowners on what to do when
exactly
they have never been one. Yeah,
exactly. And listen, at the end of the day, you can get started early, and you have to start somewhere. So if you're starting your career out and you can't afford a house yet, that's understandable. But then you should be doing all that you can to hitch your wagon to a mentor, right? Who's experienced, who's done this before multiple times, and educate yourself through all the tools at your disposal, podcasts, books that you read. Audible books, right? I mean, especially, right? You could do it on the go instead of going to the gym and listening to that hip hop song or that cool, I don't know what top 40, top 50 hits. I don't know what they even call it, Billboard top 20, whatever they call it anymore. I don't even know, right? But instead of doing that, pull out an Audible book and listen to that while you work out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Kelly, I don't get the same energy to be able to lift those weights or whatever. Really? All right, let's get over it. Let's grow up a little bit, right? You can listen to that song when you're in a spot where maybe you're just driving down the street for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to that next destination, right?
If you have the time to commit,
if you have the time, yeah. Tell them, Elizabeth, if you have the time to commit when you're going to the gym, I would hope that you'd be there for at least 20 minutes, right? Hopefully 30 or more. You have time to pull up that.
You have
that
open
book
ears
and listen, to that podcast or that book to get educated for yourself.
And I've said this before, but I mean, I'll say it again 100 times over. I really think that real estate is a pretty unique industry in where you have so many resources to learn from. It is probably one of the most giving industries in terms of like knowledge and education and training. And I truly believe that. So if you are in real estate, there is no reason that you should not be taking advantage of every opportunity you have to get better, because people are just giving it out. There are so many podcasts, books, webinars, just so many resources to help you get better that you'd be dumb to not take advantage of that.
And that's what this podcast is all about, right?
Exactly,
giving back. There are people like me who've been doing this now almost 18 years that would love to give back, because there were some people that gave to me when I was that person who did not own a house, right? Or whatever it may be, when I was younger, just starting out in this business. So please take advantage of that. And I would love, now obviously there's only so much time in one day. So certainly people that have a lot of experience may not be able to one-on-one mentor you or something like that. That's a possibility potentially, but in most cases, probably not. However, they can record podcasts like this or videos and give their information or knowledge out to the marketplace that will be evergreen, and they'll sit out there for a long time. So give back. And if you are one of those agents that have had some success, I would highly encourage you to do that, because the law of reciprocity is incredible, right? It's amazing how, Zig Ziglar was right. And I don't think he was the first person to say it. I think probably Jesus Christ was, but he really made it, but he really made it popular for, somewhat our era, when he said that he knows that he gets by giving, and he knows that he will get what he wants if he helps other people get what they want, right? Mm-hmm. And it's crazy how that happens. If you truly have that attitude, that spirit of generosity going into it, knowing that there's nothing here quantifiably for me by doing X, this thing right now. But it's funny how 3 months later, 7 months later, whatever it is, all of a sudden something comes around and you're like, oh my goodness. By the way, why did I have that good year in 2021? The market was up. Absolutely it was. But was that the only reason? Maybe not. Maybe you had positioned yourself accordingly. Maybe you had done enough good that people, were attracted to you to knock down your door as a client. Could be a buyer or seller, maybe not just agent to agent, whatever it may be, right? So you have to be consistent from that standpoint. But that spirit of generosity, it's weird, and it took me a long time to figure that out, Elizabeth. I was that guy who had that scarcity mentality. part of it
I don't want to
is,
share my secrets with anybody. Yeah, like
yeah,
it's all mine.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's how it was. That's how it was. And some of the brokerages out there obviously contribute to this, right? But it's moving the other way now, where a lot of brokerages are like, hey, it's open book, it's open door policies, share everything, which is the way it should be. But forever, we're all made up of the DNA that we have. And a lot of that DNA is altered over the course of some time growing up based upon your circumstances, right? And how you grew up. So that's fine. We have to recognize it and be able to understand that where we're at in that time and place, and how do we move forward to where it is that we want to be as a person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that took me a long time, because I didn't have someone sit me down that told me, this is, hey, look, you need to stop this. This is what we need to be more like. And then told to me again and again and again, because that's what it takes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I figured it out eventually, but I wish, if I want to regret, it's that I didn't do it sooner, right? I didn't figure that out sooner and trust the process from the standpoint of, if I just give, it will come back, right? I was trying to hoard everything and just
Which is
throw my
hard when you're
arms
starting
around
out,
everything.
because unfortunately you don't have too much to give, right? Like you
Yeah,
need people to give to you. So it is important, as you do find success, that you give that back, because you would have wanted the same, or it was given to you, and most likely it was, in some capacity, it was given to you. And so it is important to pay that back, right? And let the cycle continue.
absolutely, very much so. And so, if you guys get anything out of this podcast today, hopefully the generosity aspect is big for that. Understanding also that, hey, you know what? It is the first of the year. Yes, it is still, but the first month's already gone. The first month is already gone. You got 11 months left, and the market is more than likely going to be picking up across all markets across the United States, right? May just take a little bit more time here for some of these places to thaw out, but outside of that, it's going to pick up. And long as something crazy doesn't happen, I think you're going to see, even if rates stay at 6%, 6.25%, 6.5%, you're going to see a decent, marketplace where people are buying and selling real estate, but there's just not this big run up of appreciation values, which is good,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, that's what we want. I mean, it was
Yes.
crazy before. And real quick, Kelly, kind of just as you say that, do you think that, because it seems inevitable that all of the buyers who missed out during that high of 2020 2021 that could not get into a home, because there are multiple offer situations, and everything was crazy, and then they kind of took a step back, maybe for 2022, for a large part of it. Well, interest rates are high. Well, we've already signed another lease with our rental, or whatever it is. Do you think that we're kind of due for them? I mean, interest rates have dropped a little bit from where they
A
were
little
kind
bit.
of in the summer. Not much, but do you think that people are aware that, all right, interest rates probably aren't going down, because they're kind of probably waiting to see if they would kind of bottom out a little bit more, and we still need to get into another house, we're entering another year. Do you think that that's going to bring up another drive of, maybe not as big as it was back in the day, but another horde of buyers kind of coming into the spring market?
Well, I think for some markets, yeah. I think we know there's pent up demand. Like, for example, here in Phoenix, we know that's the case, right? And there's other places across the country. So even though there's media outlets reporting that Phoenix could, crash and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And listen, who knows, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to be all roses and sunshine, right? Because it hasn't been for the past, 5 months or so, right? 6 months. And so it may not be for a little bit while longer. There could be some more pain to be had potentially. But what we know right now is that there is pent up demand. There is people that there are a lot of people that still want to buy a house, and we specifically know there is a shortage of supply of homes, right?
Right.
Not just sellers wanting to put their house on the market and have supply that we can go out there and buy and whatnot, but specifically on the new build community side,
Yeah.
right?
Because everything was pushed back
shut
for
down
lumber
forever.
costs, and and
Yeah.
everything was.
Yeah, so we're backed up across the country, let alone places like Phoenix, where there's a lot more population influx as opposed to outflux. So there is that I think that's a possibility. The Fed's job is to try to keep the rates as such to where people will buy, but they won't have this flurry, right? And that's where they respectfully, humble opinion, messed up over the past couple of years, when they should have started graduating those
It
interest
went
rates
too hard. Yeah.
and they waited too long, and then they had to do this drastic boom, right? Which is not how it should be. So I do think that's their job. Now, we do know, like in the Phoenix marketplace, if we got down to 5.5, let's say, on a rate, that'd be very, very healthy for this marketplace, because we saw that earlier as the market started to decelerate in the back half of
That was
2022.
kind of the sweet
And
spot.
that's the sweet spot for Phoenix. Now it's gonna be different for every single marketplace, but that's primarily the sweet spot. I think at this point, 575 would be good. But at the end of the day, if people know it's going to stay around a certain area for a while, like
Right.
even if it's 6.5 or 6.25, people will come out of the
There's no
woodworks and
reason
start
for them to
acting.
wait.
That's right. Because ultimately, most people don't want to rent for their entire life, right?
Right.
And so they will act at some point.
And even people who were looking to upsize or whatever, move on to our next house, which is good because those people are buyers as well, but they also have a home to sell. So kind of
That's
putting more
it.
inventory out on the market as well.
That's right.
So
The key is, what's that interest rate where most people, not everybody, but most people will say,
feel comfortable.
okay, I have a 3.25, somewhere in the low threes, because most people do have a somewhere in the low threes mortgage right now, right? Let's be honest. Okay. And I'm willing to, I don't have to move, but I would like to move. And now that rates are at X, I will do it. Right?
Right.
Is it 5.5? Is it 5.25? Right? Is it approximately 2 points or so more? That, I think that's about where it lies, honestly. But when you start getting 3 to 4% spread on where they currently stand with their 30-year fix, they'll just say, no, I'll stay put. Yep, I'll sacrifice if it's moving. If I have 3 beds, I need 4 or whatever, right? I'll just stay put and just wait, and I'll wait, right? So that's the key, is try to curtail inflation enough, right, to where it's under control. It might still be high for a period of time, but hopefully it's under control, and therefore you don't have to move rates. You don't have to move rates. So
you don't have to touch that. Yeah.
Yeah, they work in concert. It's economics 101. And so the less amount of money that we can pour into the economy right now, the better, because that's the simple definition in the dictionary of inflation, right? It's when you have too much money chasing too little goods and services. And and we talked about this before, but again, you see help wanted signs all over the place, right? And so I just don't know that we need a bunch more money injected into our economy now. Let it pour through the economy and let it work its way through, which takes time, by the way, in any economy.
Yeah, of course.
And then at some point, inflation will start to hopefully dissipate. And guys, right now, we know what the experts are saying, right? They're expecting inflation to be around, well, the lowest I read was 2.65% by end of 2023. So, but let's say we hit 4, that'd be amazing compared to being around 7 to 8, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully that just takes place. And if that does, now hopefully the Fed has some leeway to then slowly, hopefully step this down a little bit, right? So there you go. So it'll be interesting to see. Now for Phoenix, I think I'm very bullish on the spring here between now and say May. But our slow time is where most of the markets have their fast time, right? Which is the summer, the dead heat of summer. So we'll see what happens for our economy. That I'm more interested in the back half of 2023 than the front half here. Right. With what the Fed does, where inflation goes, and then of course where demand and supply go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is kind of we kind of broke down a few things here. But as you end the first month of the first year, the first month of 2023, not the first year. But start taking a look at that. If it has been a couple hard months for you, or just not hitting where you would like to, hopefully we've given you some optimism. Things seem to be moving well in Phoenix. A lot of indicators that things are moving up, and likely your market will kind of follow that trend as well. We kind of got to throw in a little bit of reciprocity in there as well.
Reciprocity, big word.
Yes, I know. I have trouble saying that every time. But so as you're kind of getting ready to hopefully get things moving again this year, make sure that you're giving back. Share what's working for you. Share with newcomers what has worked for you. They are probably not used to this kind of market. They've been, like I said at the beginning, riding a high. So offer your expertise. And if you are somebody that is getting into the business now and is very confused about everything that's gone on over the past couple of years, take advantage of all of the resources that are at your disposal. And if you're looking to build a real estate team this year, if that's one of your goals and you're already a month down and you haven't done anything, please go to buildyourrealestateteam.com and get Kelly's full, kind of step-by-step guide on how you go about that. And Kelly, if anybody else has any questions, just wants to talk to you about economics and the market and, where you're putting your money in your stocks, where should they reach out to you?
Oh, I love that. Oh, yeah, absolutely, guys. Text me 480-227-2028, or you can email at info@cookandassociatesaz.com.
Because again, Kelly has been through it all. He's in the stage of his life where he is looking to give back. So take
I
advantage of
am.
it, guys. Take advantage.
Yes.
All right. I will see you next week, Kelly.
All right. Thanks, Elizabeth. Appreciate
Bye.
it. Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.